Hey everyone, it's Pup Twigs here from Orlando, Florida, and my latest episode of Unleashed. I've got my guest, Pup Vesi from Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. It's been a good weekend so far. It's good to have those long weekends.
Yes, definitely, especially with how busy things have been recently.
Oh yeah, work is just always busy anymore. I don't think there's anyone that's not busy,
No,
no matter what field you're in.
no, 100% no.
So I am curious about your pup name, Vessi, how you came about choosing that name. And then I also have noticed that your puppy hood is kind of a light yellow, black, and looks like a little bit of red mixed in on the very edges. And
So,
how did that come about?
so it's pink and lime green.
Oh, well,
Um,
okay,
People call me a watermelon puppy, and there's a story behind that.
okay.
Because typically watermelon, you know, pink, green,
Has that pink? Yep, you're right.
black and white. So I actually originally joined the furry community first. That kind of went hand in hand with puppies because there's a lot of furries who are puppies and there's a lot of puppies who are furries and vice
Yep.
versa. Um, and so that was actually the first community that I was kind of exposed to. And when I had first joined, like I wasn't 100% sure kind of really what I wanted to get out of it. And somebody said, just pick an animal that you really vibe with and then try and come up with a name and then you can kind of just work from there. So I ended up with an otter as my fursona because I love otters. They're so adorable. I love
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
But the name that I chose for my otter fursona was Tycho, Tyko. And it just was one thing. I was laying in bed. I'm like, I don't know what kind of name I can come up with. And then of course, like I had to go and look like, okay, is this like a company name? Is this like something offensive? And I went and looked, and it was actually really interesting to me. I found out that it is a more modern spelling of a Finnish name from Finland. So the more I guess historical spelling of it is Tycho, Tycho.
Okay.
And then even going back further than that, I guess it has like origins in like Norse and all this other stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's super cool. Like I didn't even know. So then when I was kind of putting together my colors for my puppy hood, I love really loud colors. So like the bright green and the bright pink and like I'm a 90s kid. So like that was king, those really bright neon colors, the bright greens, the bright blues, the bright yellows, all that neon. Like I love it. It's it's my favorite. So um I've actually got a Nintendo Switch. And I have a habit of just buying way too many of the Joy-Cons that are attached because they're just in amazing colors and I just love them.
Oh yes, I hear
So
you.
I've got like really bright red and really bright blue, but then I've also bought the really bright green one and the really bright pink one. And as I was like trying to put all my colors together, I'm like, man, I really love those two colors together. And it kind of reminded me of just like those really, really loud 90s colors. And then I also tell people the old packaging for Bubblicious, the bubble gum for watermelon is like that really bright pink and really bright green. I'm like, okay, I love that vibe.
You're right. You're right.
So I went with it. And I've actually got the short muzzle as well. I don't have the regular
Oh,
size
you
one.
do? Okay.
Yeah, and people always notice that, and I'm just like, I that was never something really common that I saw, and I'm like, well, I'll try it out. And it's like if I don't like it, I could always get a different one.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, people always point that out too, and they're just like, it's super cute and it's super,
it
and
is. It is.
I love it. So yeah, I leaned really really hard into that watermelon vibe, but then when I was coming up with my puppy name, I was curious. I'm like, okay, what is the Finnish word for watermelon? Because I'm like, my fur name has very Finnish origins. So I'm like, let's see what the Finnish word for watermelon is. And the Finnish word for watermelon is Vesi Maloni. So it's Vesi, which actually means water. Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
And then Maloney for melon. So Vesi Maloney is watermelon. And so I just chopped the end of it off and I'm like, Vesi, perfect.
It
And
works.
so
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Well, That's one of the more unique ways of getting a name. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool story to tell people because it is kind of long, but
Oh no, it's perfect. So how long have you been in the pup community?
So, like I said, I joined the fur community first. That was maybe around April or so of last year.
Mhm.
And again, it was kind of analogous with just like me getting exposure to puppies and things like that. I didn't really decide that I want to try and get more involved in the puppy community until maybe about July or so. And then my puppy's birthday is October 17th of 2022, which is coming up. So it's almost been a
So it
year.
is. It's coming up real quick.
Yeah, it's almost been a year. There's some stuff later I'll talk about a little bit about kind of just the complexity of that, but yeah, it's almost been
Okay.
about a year for me
Well,
existing in
well,
the puppy community.
with you being in it for almost a year now, have you seen something that has been real easy for you in the pup community, and has there been anything that's been kind of difficult for you?
Yeah, so I will say for me, the easiest thing that's really been transitioning into the puppy community is that this Vessi has really helped me to have my real personality come through.
Hmm.
So it's been very, very easy for me to kind of just get in that place of this is still me underneath, and this is my personality, and these are the things that I really enjoy about myself, and the things that I really want to share with other people. And it's been so easy to just like put this on. It's like that's it, like
Hmm.
crank it up to 11. We're going.
Good, good.
um, One of the more difficult things for me still, in uh, I think there's a lot of people who probably still struggle with this a little bit, is just getting into headspace.
Hmm.
Um, I kind like the mood sometimes just kind of comes and goes. So sometimes I'll just be like super playful. Sometimes I'll be a little bit saucy. Sometimes I'll just be just be me, and it's just sometimes it's just fun to hang out, and it's fun to just discuss with people, and it's fun to just exist and kind of hang out in a different way. And
Great.
those things are getting easier as time goes on, but there is some times where it's hard to really manage like what am I feeling right now?
Hmm.
And then when Vessi goes on, like what does that actually mean as far as kind of separating the way that my human life is run versus the way that my puppy life is run.
Right. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
So, have you seen anything that you would say today want to change about the pup community?
So one thing I do really like about the puppy community is that they are very, very supportive. I was in a place in my life where I felt like there were not a lot of people who were kind of on my side.
Hmm.
And kind of finding the furry community and finding the puppy communities. There's a lot of really, really good people out there, and I really do enjoy that about the community. And there's been some incredible people that I've met through that. The one thing that I've kind of seen and kind of even experienced firsthand with a close friend of mine, some of the structures that exist between people and their pack dynamics, things like alpha relationships, those sorts of things. There's a part of me sometimes that wishes people weren't so glued to those. I know some people probably don't, they're not like super bound to what that means.
Hmm.
And I know that's a very, very important dynamic for people, because if you have someone who is kind of in that leadership role or in an alpha role, like you do have this connection with them, and you do really look up to them, and you do
Right.
um, you do value that relationship. Very unfortunately, there's someone I know who that they felt like their alpha at the time was not really fulfilling those roles anymore, and they were in
Mhm.
a place where potentially they wanted to separate that and maybe find somebody else that they've been talking to who's a better fit as their alpha. And it was almost like a nasty breakup. Like it
Okay.
was really damaging. To where he was talking to his alpha at the time, saying like, "Hey, I don't know if this is really going to work out for me anymore. There's been somebody else I'm talking to who I think would be a better fit." And my hope in that situation would be there's a like, yes, you would feel hurt. I understand why you would feel hurt,
Sure.
but it for whatever reason it just was so like horrendously devastating to this person to both their alpha, the way that they reacted, saying, you know, I can't believe you would go behind my back and do this, and it's so common in the community, and all of these really hurtful things, and it like destroyed this person as a puppy, and it's been so long since they've been
Mhm.
able to even like put their hood back on,
Right.
and it breaks my heart to see that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
that's rough. That really is.
yeah, and I mean, nasty breakups happen, and again, it's in some cases it could be an actual relationship,
Hmm.
um, much more than just being a platonic relationship or a position of you know, guidance or mentorship or something like that.
Right, right.
So those I get those things can occur, but it's just like it really makes me sad that it's like this person really lost themselves because of
Mm.
that.
Are
Um,
they doing okay now?
they're doing better. Unfortunately, they're still like a little bit incognito. And I've really been trying to help manage that. And I
Good.
really do hope that they find that space again, because they were an absolute joy, and um, yeah, it's difficult to really see that happen.
Oh yeah, I agree. It would be very difficult to see another pup going through something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I've lost myself once or twice in that same way. Again, we might talk about it a little bit later, but I definitely had those moments where I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get back to that place. And
Hmm.
it's hard. It's really, really hard.
It can be, yes, I agree. So, what advice would you give someone if you were out at an event and saw a new person wanting to get into the pup community? What kind of
Um,
advice would you give them?
it's funny because I kind of went and saw a lot of your other episodes, and most people just say try it. And that's exactly what I'm going to say, is just try it.
That's okay.
Um, so when again, I first joined the pup or the furry community, I didn't really know too much about puppies. I didn't really know too much about, you know, what it was about. And people again told me it's a headspace.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of understood that, but at the same time, I wasn't really sure what it meant. Um, and for me, I think it was a little bit easier because I think when I tell people about headspace, I think of, okay, you hear in sports a lot like get your head in the game,
Yes.
or like if you're at the gym and like you've got your earbuds in or something, like you are in gym mode, like that is all you're focused on.
Right.
So um, I was familiar with that because I do a lot of fitness and things like that, where it's like that's the thing that you're focused on. Um, and for me, I was just in kind of a bad place in my life at the time. And the way that people described it to me was that, you know, you put on a puppy hood and you kind of just forget about what your human responsibilities are, whether that's stress with
Exactly.
work, whether that's anxiety, whether that's, you know, stuff that is going on just within your life or your friendships and things like that. And to me, it was like, okay, if I can do that for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even less than that, and it's like, and I can get something out of it, like what do I have to lose?
Hmm.
And I remember that putting together my custom and doing all these things and really kind of wondering like, okay, if all of this happens and I'm not super into it, like, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. But again, I was in a place where it's like I really have nothing left to lose, so it's like just I'll just try it.
Just try it and see,
Um,
and you ended up liking it.
yeah, and I remember when Vessi showed up, and you know, I unboxed them and I put them on real quick and got some pictures and a little video to kind of share with some people that I'd already been talking to in the community. And I remember I took it off and set them down for maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, and just kind of looked at them, and I got like really really emotional, and I'm like, this is gonna be good for me.
Yeah, good. That's always
Yeah,
good to hear.
yeah.
Well, what brings you the most joy out of puppy play? And do you have a specific toy that you like to play with?
So I I'll be honest, in my day-to-day life, I kind of struggle with talking to people in social situations, like mostly in maintaining eye contact with people. So I have a
Hmm.
really tough time when I'm talking to people to maintain eye contact. Um, and just sometimes I just feel awkward and what is my face doing? Like what am I like what is my body language saying? Those sorts of things. So for me, um, one of the things I really, really like about puppy play is the fact that it's like this is almost so concealing, and the only thing you really have to focus on is like that person's eyes and kind of like what their body is doing. So the expressiveness and the emotion of it, and just being able to tell like what people are feeling based on, you know, like if they're bouncing their head around, or you know, they're wiggling their snoot, or
Yeah,
um you know, if like when I smile, like my eyes all kind of wrinkle up and things like that. So it's like it's I love that about it, because you can tell so much about somebody just from what their eyes are saying.
yeah,
And I know there were people during COVID when people were wearing masks, and they said, you know, that was difficult for them on the opposite side of the spectrum, where it says, you know, I'm so keen on like what is the expressiveness of their face, and what are
yeah,
they doing, and what are they feeling. And um it's so interesting to me that I almost feel the opposite, where it's like the more that I have to focus on something that I have such a difficulty with, or the more that you can express yourself like with your body language, or with like
yeah,
what you're doing, I love it. It's so much fun.
yeah. I agree.
um and then I don't necessarily have like a ton. Like I've got some squeaky toys. I've got some squeaky watermelon toys, which I think are super cute. um, I've got like the human chew toy bone that's like safe for people to chew
Yeah,
on. That's not, you know, meant for dogs or whatever. And I've actually got right next to me. I've got a big watermelon plush.
there you go. There you go.
It's just a nice prop to have. So
It is. I love it.
yeah.
So, what has being a pup done for your mental health?
So this is kind of where I'm going to get a little bit deeper into it. So and I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I might get emotional.
It's okay. It's okay.
So like I said, I was really at my worst when puppy play came along, and some people that I've talked to, they've kind of shared those similar stories, whether
Hmm.
that's been with work or with their relationships at the time. Pretty recently, I got out of a very long-term relationship. It was 12 years. And kind of during the end of that is when I started to really discover Vesi, and discover what that really means. And during that relationship, like I was pretty stagnant as a person. Like you kind of knew what you were getting. And I felt like this was so important for me to kind of just grow into, and just unlock all of these things that I was feeling,
Yeah.
and all of these things that I really wanted to explore. And that was very, very important to me. Um, and I won't get into the details of it, but just that was part of why things had to come to an end. But again, I felt like it was too important for me to pass that up. And I felt like even as this journey is ongoing, there is a better person at the other side of it. Because
Hmm.
even the strides that I've made in like the past 6 months, just for myself personally, is somewhere that I never would have even imagined myself to be. So um, this has helped me really kind of gain confidence in myself. It's really kind of helped put my faith back in people. Um, there are a lot of things about myself that I kind of remember as a kid, and you know, things happen, traumatic things happen. Um, Over time, you kind of feel like there's parts of yourself that you have to stuff down, and you have to hide, and you just can't express anymore, because it's like that's not the way that the world works.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things I love so much about puppy play, is I feel like it gives me the opportunity to really like dig deep down in myself and find those things that I thought were either gone, or things that are just so weak, and I can nurture them back to life through
Hmm.
Vessi. And that's an incredible feeling, because it feels like it is a part of myself that I lost and now is coming back.
Well,
Um,
and it's always good to hear how much good
yeah.
this persona and headspace has done for
Mhm.
so many puppies out there.
Mhm.
And I just love hearing the stories about it.
Yeah, and I know some people kind of have springboarded into it from those same places.
Hmm.
There are some puppies I know that are military, and they're very, you know, compartmentalized as it is. But this gives them the outlet for that, and it's very good for kind of separating those very stressful things. Um, and it gives them the opportunity to really just, exist outside of that and to really feel like they have a space where they can just be comfortable and to really explore those good feelings with other people.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, what's the one thing you wish you had known before jumping in, getting into the pup community?
That puppies are so friendly. Like we're the friendliest people ever. So there's I will say is that a lot of puppy stuff is on social media.
Yeah.
Do not for a second be intimidated to approach people that you think are unapproachable.
Mm-hmm.
I would give that advice because there's been people that I feel like just based on their follower accounts or who they're interacting with, like they don't have time for you. But that's not the case. Like, and I've told other people this because people have said that to me, and I'm just like, why? I'm like, like I love the opportunity to go and like meet new people and talk to people. Like you should have messaged me way sooner. And there was actually a situation that happened. I went out to Lobo in Columbus as my very, very first puppy event, which was amazing. And I went there with the full intention of just like, okay, I kind of have an idea like who might be there, but it's just like if you see me, come up to me, say hi.
Yeah.
Like I would love to say hi. Like even if I don't know you or like even if you don't follow me or anything, like if I look like someone you want to come and talk to, like please come talk to me. And there was one puppy in particular who did that and legitimately made my evening like the greatest because like he had followed me on Twitter like so long ago. And the funny thing is I forgot how to, he had his name on his tag and I forgot how to spell it.
Oh,
And so like the next day I was like frantic. Like I want to message him and tell him like how cool of an experience that was. And I couldn't remember how to spell his name and I was so flustered. Um, but yeah, he came up to me and he was kind of, he was super nervous and he's just like, I didn't know you were going to be here. And he's like, I followed you for a long time and you're so great. And like, I hope I'm not bothering you or anything. And I'm like, no, I'm like, thank you for coming up to me. Like, that's exactly what I wanted people to do. And
yeah.
then like, I saw his name on his tag and like immediately recognized who he was. And like, I just gave him the biggest hug and I'm like, it's really it's something very very unique is that you can really just kind of take those complex social things and really just like wipe them out because it's just like everyone just wants to talk and hug and just be goofy and goof
Exactly.
snoots and
The
I
little,
love it so
I hear you. I'm with you on that one.
yeah, so definitely I've told this to other people too who are just like, oh, I don't want to message them because it's like they won't have time for me, or like I've messaged them and a couple of weeks ago and they haven't said anything. Like, go back and do it again. Like people get busy. Like I'm a person as well. I get busy.
Yeah, of course. We all do.
Yeah.
We all
And
do.
it's like I guarantee unless like you've done something that's like super personal or like maybe you've like hurt one of their friends or something, which in most cases I don't think people have, like
Yeah.
just just say hi. Like even if you want to chat with those people, just say hi.
That's what
And
we're
like
there for.
if you want to try and nurture that friendship, like talk to them more. And if it's just like if they don't seem like it's not necessarily good to see, like, well, at least you said hi, right?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe you make a friend out of it. And that's kind of where I've gone, is that there's some people who I thought, are way too popular or like way too much for my time.
Yeah.
And recently I've just gone and been like, hey, I really like your stuff, or hey, I followed you for a while and it's just like I thought maybe if you want to chat, that'd be great. And in most cases it's a very positive experience and you make a new friend out of it. So
Right.
definitely be friendly.
I hear you. I'm all for that. So I know with work and everything keeps us all of us busy.
Mm.
But what kind of hobbies do you have, and do you own any pets?
So maybe back that way. There's stuff on my bookshelf. I'm the biggest dork on the planet. So I love video games. I used to watch a lot of anime. I don't have much time for it anymore. I love fitness. I love it. I tell people that I'm a dirty CrossFitter because it's kind of got like that stigma of being like, oh, it's CrossFit, like. And I think people are just so used to seeing like all the fail videos and things like that, and it's just like, okay, like yeah, but
Yeah.
um, I I love fitness, and I love that people will ask me fitness questions because it's like I will talk all day long about it. I'm the hugest dork about it. Um, and I love that aspect of trying to help people too. So um, yeah, I absolutely love fitness. And for people who are just like, oh, I don't have the motivation to work out. It's like if you were in the vicinity of me, like if you were in the same city and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to work out, like I'm getting in the car, we're going to work out. Like I don't care if I just worked out, we're going to work
Yep.
out. I love it. Um, but yeah, I've always been really big on just video games and things like that as well. So usually in my spare time, that's what I'm doing.
I find
Um,
video games are pretty common within the pup community.
yeah. And I mean, just last night I was basically in this exact same thing, just like, chilling and video gaming. So
Yep, that's okay.
um I used to have pets. Again, with my relationship, we did have a cat. I don't get to see him much anymore, which kind of is sad. I did have a cat years before that, but she's passed away since.
Oh,
But I loved her to death. She was the sweetest little thing. I do get to see at the gym they've got dogs.
oh,
So typically with CrossFit gyms, like dogs are kind of just welcome all the time, and the owners they have two dogs, and they're great, and it's always fun to come in and see them, and they're
oh,
jumping
good,
around
good.
and
Well, I know earlier you mentioned the story about the alpha and everything.
yeah.
Do you have a particular title that you go by? You know, beta, omega, alpha, things like that.
So I've heard those terms so many times over, and I actually had to go and like look up what they really meant because it's like I think I had an idea, but I wasn't like 100% sure.
Hmm.
And kind of, I think if I was in a pack, I'm not in a pack. I'm just, I'm one of those dogs, so I just run up to people and I give you a little sniff and say hi, and then like I'm off on my way. um, if I was in a pack, I think I would be more of an omega, just because I'm very much a person where it's like I don't have necessarily aspirations to lead. I'm very much a just help whoever and however they need it.
Okay.
Um, Even at my own expense a lot, which is kind of a bad personality trait. But um, yeah, I in those situations, like I said, the puppy community has been so supportive of me, and so it's just like I will do anything I can to help try and
Okay.
support
Awesome.
in those roles. So I think I would put myself as an omega. Yeah.
Well, what kind of events do you have going on there in the Indianapolis area?
So coming up actually next weekend, it's not technically a puppy event, but there's Indy FurCon next weekend.
Oh,
Which last year I did not even know that was a thing here until somebody brought it up, and I'm like, oh, when is it? And it was like the next week, and it's like, well, I guess I'm not going this year. I guess I could have, but that's coming up next weekend. Um, it's a little bit weird here is that I think there is a puppy scene and there is a furry scene, but it's very hard to find. Um, which is a little bit odd to me because Indianapolis is a large city.
yeah, it is.
Um, but like trying to find channels through like what's going on, when it's going on, things like that, it's kind of difficult. And there's some group chats that we're in for like they're like unofficial, puppies and handlers things where
Hmm.
they try and broadcast that information just to get people involved, but it's like it seems I don't maybe I'm just oblivious to it and it's like I'm just not in the right places for it, but it seems like there's not really a lot ever going on here, which is kind of bizarre to me.
It really is because I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked to a few pups where there was not they would have to travel
Yeah.
to other cities to go, but their local city was not having any kind of
Yeah. And
event.
that's kind of how I feel here is because it's about 3 hours to Chicago and about 3 hours to Columbus, where I was not too long ago.
Okay.
Um, and then so it seems like kind of Columbus, Cleveland, those sorts of areas in Ohio, there's typically a lot going on. And there's actually the one puppy that I met at Lobo.
Yeah.
He's actually involved in organizations, I think in Cleveland,
Okay.
for kind of those sorts of centric events. And then, of course, Chicago. So,
Oh yeah. Of course, yeah.
but I mean, even a couple hours northeast, there's a city called Fort Wayne in Indiana. It seems like there's a lot going on there too, and there's actually a lot of puppies that I know from there. Um, it's a little bit odd to me that Indianapolis doesn't have more going on.
Yeah,
And
that
again,
really is strange, but
and again, like maybe it's just something that I'm just not aware of, but
mhm.
yeah, it's the scene here is a little bit dead, which is interesting.
Well, we got to change that. So, so if you would want to ask my next guest a specific question about the either the community or about themselves, what do you think you would want to know about
So I thought about this for a little bit, and I think since like I said, the puppy community was so loving and so supportive. I mean, through everything that I went through, like people were there for me. People were genuinely there to listen, to help. You know, if I ever needed a place to stay, or if there was things I needed to get off my chest, or just being those very very supportive roles. I think I would ask that person is just what have you done the most recently, or what is the thing you are most proud of in supporting another puppy?
it? Oh, good
Because
question.
I think people genuinely are open to saying things like, "Hey, you know, I'm here if you need to talk," but then like maybe that's really the end of it.
Hmm.
Um, but like really find someone who is struggling, or really find someone who does need that support and help them. So my question would be is what is the thing that you have done the most recently to help support somebody? And if it hasn't been recent, um, I would encourage them to go do that. Or just like what is the thing you felt has helped support a puppy the most? Whether that's bringing them into the community, whether that's helping them through a tough time,
Okay.
um, whether that's just being there when they need a hug or whatever it is. Because I feel like those very very small gestures do make the biggest difference.
Uh, yes, it does. It really does. So, are you ready for your question?
I am ready for my question. I don't have notes for this, so we'll see.
It's not a difficult one. This one came from Sergeant Wolf out of Missouri.
I know him. He's a great
Oh,
guy.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
So he wanted to know, how did you find out about the pup community?
I think I kind of already answered this with the
You have.
I joined the furry community, and again, it's a little bit analogous between those two communities. Um, and I could see why, because like if you're someone who is a fursuiter, like maybe you don't want your you know, you don't want your head to get messed up, or you don't want your suit to get messed up. So like this is just so much easier
Yeah.
in one regard. But um yeah, and I think in finding the fur community and then finding the puppy community, like I hate to be one of those people that's like, well, like, you know, they found me, but it's like they kind of did.
Yeah.
And again, this was at a time where it's like I legitimately felt my worst, and I will tell people that the pup community like legitimately saved me,
That's
and I believe that. I really really do. Um, so again, for anyone who wants to check it out, like it's definitely give it a try. It's amazing. There's some amazing people out there.
no, you're so right with that. And I met some fantastic through this avenue of this podcast, and it's just been simply amazing for me.
Like Sergeant Wolf, I know him.
Yeah, you're right. Well, if someone wanted to reach out to you and say hi or anything like that, how might they get in touch with you?
So I am on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
nowadays. I'm at Pup Vesi. I'm at Pup Vesi on Instagram. I'm that on Blue Sky. I'm pretty much that on any social media moving forward, because apparently Twitter is just burning down in flames right now.
That's what we hear.
We don't need to get into that, but yeah,
Well,
I'm Pup Vesti on everything. So any platform that you want to try and find me, I'm probably there.
all right. Any last words from Pup Bessie?
Uh, I don't think so. Again, the puppy community has been incredible, and so for anyone watching this, or anyone who really does think that maybe it's a fit for them, or if you're really having a hard time and you just feel like you need something a little bit different, like try it out. You may think that it's a little bit silly that we're all just walking around as goofy dogs, and it is a little bit silly, but
Hey, but it's fun.
don't don't underestimate what it can truly do for you, because I would say that I'm a walking example of someone who was a broken person and is doing so much better now
And
because of the puppy community. So
that's what counts. And it's so good to hear that you're doing awesome.
yeah.
Well, it has been a pleasure getting to spend some time and getting to know Pup Vesi and stuff. And I want you to go out and have an amazing what's left of the weekend.
Mhm.
And I'll be talking to you again soon.
Okay. I appreciate it. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it's a blast doing this. And every pup comes on saying they're nervous, and then at the end they say, "Oh my God, that was so much fun." But yeah, again, it's been awesome, and I will be Pup Twigs will be talking to you again soon.
Well, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, you too. Bye.